Hello, everyone. It's incredible being the last speaker today, but I'm glad to be speaking with you here. So my topic today is the end of my catchphrase for my business of Black Cotton, which our catchphrase is "Cotton is our culture, let's grow together." As a lifelong cotton farmer, I used to have this cotton thing in my life that was like this deep, deep shame. Like, I didn't tell people that I farmed, but I was a part of a farm business. This deep shame of this dirty chore that I had really grappled with me throughout my young adult life. When I actually came here to North Carolina School of Science and Math, I used to leave a lot of good weather weekends. Friends would be like, "Why are you going home so often?" "Well, it's just this thing that I have to do back on the farm." And farm? You farm? Well, no, but I just do some chores. I had a deep shame of farming. And that didn't start at Science and Math. It started all my life. I had these notions of farming as a negative thing. I remember even one of my young memories as a peanut farmer with my dad is we would leave from after having a successful day at work and come back to Roanoke Rapids area to try to go in town. And my dad and I would be so dirty that people would give us food for free. I had negative thoughts about being a farmer. And it was just this thing that my father and I had to do. I've coined this term that a lot of farmers in Eastern North Carolina are burden farmers. Your father and your grandfather farmed, so you got to do the same thing when their time is over with. So I already had it in my mind for, since I've been little, and I've seen a gravestone on my family farm that said Julius Tillery. And I was like, I'm alive. That's my name. But I knew it was my great-grandfather. He was the first gravestone there laying prominently. And it always made me remember and think that this farm is a responsibility of mine, so it's just what I have to do. I have that burden. So growing up with the burden of being a dirty farmer, having this dirty, all the tropes that's negative about farming, it didn't just start at the business of farming. It also related to the history of farming. My last name is Tillery. In my community where I'm from, there's a town called Tillery. So I always grew up with people say, "Hey, are you from that town, Tillery?" Well, no, not necessarily, but I knew the history of my family name. So I am a fifth-generation cotton farmer. So my father was a farmer. He's a fourth generation. His father was a farmer, third generation. His father was a farmer, second generation. And that first generation, Reverend D.L. Tillery, he was born in 1871. He's our first person we consider part of our family farm lineage. Now, he was born in 1871, so he was born free from slavery, the first one in my family born free. And in his life, he decided as an adult, hey, I'm going to purchase a farm. He was, adult and had a son that was an adult, and they moved together to the first part of our family farm. And on that family farm, my great-grandfather, who I'm named after, he had his first son, James Tillery Sr., that's my grandfather, on the family farm. So he was the first person born on our family farm. My grandfather really didn't take a kin to the Tillery, being from Tillery, because he's not from Tillery. He's from Rich Square. He was born in Rich Square, and that's where he lay. So I didn't have this connection to Tillery, North Carolina, but I know where our family farm lay. So in this identity of being a fifth-generation farmer, there's this whole also identity that we came from a slave lineage. Our ancestors were slaves. I read this book once called PTSS, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGray. And what this person says in this book is there's DNA makeup that's in all black people that connects to slavery. So when a lot of people think about farming, and especially cotton farming, there's this close kinship to slavery. Now, as a person that know these things and had this idea of, hey, cotton farming is a dirty job, it's not something to be proud of, if I wanted to continue this business for my family, I felt to myself the first thing I needed to do was change this perspective of myself. I remember as I was a young adult in my late 20s, just wondering, why am I sad to be a farmer? Is this some type of chore that I'm going to have to take on for the rest of my life? Can I put it on my son's life that he's going to take this same chore? To be able to continue a family farm, it requires sacrifice. So what I needed to do is sacrifice this idea that farming is negative. Farming is for poor. Farming is for uneducated. And if you know anything about me, as a graduate of North Carolina School of Science and Math, I'm far from uneducated. I've been bred to be educated with the most elite academic people in the country. So I had to change my whole perspective to be able to move my farm. And when I changed my perspective and showed that perspective to others, I realized how deep black cotton was, not just myself, but to my community. Because the cotton story is an American story, and an American story that connects us all. In this post-traumatic slave syndrome, while some of us were slaves, there was everybody that was witnesses, and everybody was affected by the cotton story. When we talk so much about white versus black, we don't and slavery, we don't talk enough about how many allies was to blacks in getting out of slavery. Abraham Lincoln, all the people that decided to follow for him and follow behind the Union to bring our country together. That's half of the country that said, I despise what's going on and I want to fight to end that. That is in the DNA of our American nation. It's not just all oppression. There's this humane story of how we survive as a nation to get over some of the most ugliest things that we can imagine. And so if we can do this as a nation, let's not forget that DNA inside of us, and let's start to embrace what's best inside of us. So when I tell my 5th generation cotton farming story, I have to really start from 1871, when my great-great-grandfather was born free. He decided to, educate himself to become a pastor. And in him being a pastor, it allowed him to raise enough money to buy his first part of our family farm. And in that family farm, it has been shared multi-generations. And after him, his son, Julius Tillery, that I'm named after, was supposedly a great entrepreneur. He was a community leader. And he inspired his son, James Tillery, to be able to handle the family farm and be able to get us through the next generations. And my grandfather, James Tillery, he only left the family farm once, and that was to fight in World War II. Imagine you're a country boy that just fights, that you're at home, working your family farm, you have your community members around you, helping you work this family farm, but then you have to leave to go fight in World War II, one of the most despicable wars ever. But he left there and he came back. He made it from that war and helped start the family that we have today, where my dad was born. And, after my dad was born, he was the first person to be able to go to college, and he educated himself deeply in agriculture. He went to North Carolina A&T, got an agriculture education degree. And he was a community member that taught various people in our communities about vocational sciences. He taught about agriculture. He was a very known FFA mentor. These things helped develop who I am. Whereas my father, he had me. He had a son that very smart kid, always a leader in his community in regards to sports, whether it was Battle of the Books where I was the captain of my 5th grade team that won. Leadership is developed not just through sports, but all types of activities. And I always tried to stand in that, knowing that that's what my father and my mother led me to. But even with myself now, how I want to change our family farm is how I want to change the nation. I want us to be able to look at ourselves in a humane way and understand what's good in our identities. It's not all bad. Now, we've had some bad, but from our identities, where can we find the humane point where we find good and spread that story as well? While my story is about cotton, many of us have all types of stories as school teachers, nurses, business people, politicians, you name it. We have to be able to find what's human in us to be able to spread that. So when I say cotton is our culture, let's grow together. Yes, I uplift the culture of the rural people who live by cotton. I don't believe it should be all negative. If you've ever been by a cotton field, you can see the beauty in the cotton plant. Cotton is a 5,000-year-old plant that's beautiful and magical. We have to be able to embrace that and not just the negative notions of, oh, that's what the slaves picked. That's forgetting all the history that happened, all the families that came together on our family farm to try to raise crops, to be able to support themselves, get the next family member to the next stage, you know. So we can't forget the positive history as well, because these positive histories help develop who we are today. So when I say cotton is our culture, let's grow together, I'm talking about not just us growing a crop, but let's heal ourselves. Let's look at the beauty of what we have in our assets. As a person that comes from Roanoke Valley, we are a poor community, but if you know the people of the Roanoke Valley, we have a lot of wealth in the relationships that we have, the connections that we have, how we able to share our community together, different races, different demographics, all together to be able to build a family community where we all can love and foster good spirits around each other. How do we take care of each other? I hope in Black Cotton we can feel this sense of pride that we should have in what we build in our communities. Not looking at some historical context and saying, oh, that's ugly, because it's not the truth. There's a lot of beauty in our nature, and we just sometimes have to find it. So cotton is our culture. Let's grow together, because we should be together in this journey in America. Thank you.